All social systems have rules, okay? All social systems express and enforce those rules with and without words, okay? And all social, and without awareness, we don't always know that we're doing it. And all social systems fight change, even the change they ask for. It's about transitions, and when you have a transition, you generally have an ending and a beginning, okay? And there's supposed to be like a space in between these, all right? In our culture, we don't have much room for that. But what happens is you've got this ending and you're going to start this beginning. So William Bridges talks about this area in here that's kind of weird. He likens it to, if we go out here and we try to cross the highway, right? Let's say there's no island in the middle, it's just double yellow lines, right? And you look both ways because there's 55-mile-an-hour traffic going both ways. And there's nobody coming in either direction, and you head out across the highway, you get to that double yellow line, and all of a sudden you've got traffic going on both sides of you. And you're standing there thinking, what the hell was I thinking? I don't know why I decided to do this. This feels horrible. I don't like this. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel familiar at all. I'm up in the air. I'm discombobulated. This is crazy. It's scary. And he calls this area in the center the neutral zone. I don't write very well sideways, so bear with me. I don't write very well anyways. Okay, so this area in the middle he calls the neutral zone. And essentially he says the neutral zone feels as horrible as standing on that double yellow line in the middle of traffic. Okay, and so the first thing we want to do is we turn around and we want to rush back into the familiar. But there's a reason why we were leaving this. Okay, we were done with it. It wasn't serving us anymore. It was time to be finished with it. But we want to rush back into it because it's familiar. It may be sucky familiar, but it's familiar. We know how to function in the suckiness. Okay? So we want to rush back in, but we can't because there's all this traffic. So then we immediately, impulsively turn the other way, and now we want to rush into the beginning when we're not quite ready. And so he said, although it feels horrible in this neutral zone, we have work to do there. There's stuff that has to be done. You've got to tie up all your loose ends here and get this kind of finished with. And then you've got to prepare yourself to move into the new area. For example, in the military, you look at something like PTSD. And I know a lot of guys in the military think, well, I can't have PTSD because I'm a wuss if I have that, which makes no sense whatsoever. No one is immune from trauma, right? But the other thing that I've seen some research that said they tried to look at what was the difference between the guys experiencing World War II and here coming back. It took them 2 months. They were on a boat. And they sat on that boat and talked to each other and processed and worked through a lot of those issues with guys that understood what they went through and guys who had handled it better than they did or had less damaging experience. Whatever, that 2 months on that boat was a neutral zone. Flying back on an airplane in 6 hours is not a neutral zone. So now here's a guy who's almost, Scotty has beamed him back into society and he's expected to just drop it all. I don't know how you do that. I don't think anybody can. And I don't know why you would be considered unmanly even by yourself if you can't. Because that's just crazy to expect that to happen. So we have to have that time to process. And if we don't, then we need to create something, some sort of situation that's ritual-like in some way, that's structured. Because William Bridges says that while you're in this neutral zone, it's going to be disorganized, but you need to find some way to organize it to some extent. A gym, you're talking about having a gym that's free. Working out 3 times a week can be an organizational structure. Going to therapy can have an organizational structure. But we real men can't even spell therapy, right? I like to say there are 2 kinds of people. Those who have issues and those who lie. Okay? You don't lie to everybody else, well you may try to. Really you're lying to yourself. But the problem with that is the guy in the mirror knows. You suck at lying to that person. Okay? And there's not enough drugs or alcohol in the world to make it go away. That's been tried over and over again. If you look at what happens when you don't have this, let's say you have an affair. This is a great example of no transition. You have an ending. Okay? And then you have a beginning. The beginning starts before the ending ends. And then people go and get married. Well, what a cluster this is. And we wonder why about 80–90% of those fail. Well, that's why. because you're dragging the old baggage into the new relationship and then trying to deny that it's there. And then it becomes the elephant in the living room that nobody's allowed to talk about, but we all know it's there. That transitions are disturbing and that that's normal. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. In fact, it's happening because there's something right with you. Because you form relationships, that's what we do. We're group animals. We want to love and be loved, touch and be touched, that's what we do. So if you go overseas in the military, you form a unit. That's what boot camp is. When we come back, we're supposed to plug in, we're supposed to just disengage from one culture and plug into another. We have all these things to deal with. Well, what happens, you know, if you've got your family and then you go off to deployment, you form this unit with the people that you fight with and that you work with, and then you come back and you're expected to what? Just forget about them? The people you went through life and death with, and you're just supposed to what? You know, it's just, yep, done with that, been there, done that. This isn't a video game you completed and got bored with, you know. Coming back from deployment, you don't know what to do with this. That's normal. I think what's really important for us to do as helping professionals is to whatever extent possible, normalize the neutral zone and start to make sense of it. Help them make sense of it, not say you should make it go away.